Some say the color red means love, courage, passion. And in the month of February, it does seem appropriately so. But for me, red means pain. Lots and lots of pain. Hello everyone, this is Modeling with Variety, and today we're taking a look at this, the 8824, or the Zeta Gundam P2/3C type, also known as the Red Zeta, that is made by Daban Models. To see if this red redesign by Daban Models can reiterate or maybe even outright replace the one that came before. Let's take a look then, shall we? Oh, and before that, I'd like to thank my friend John for essentially sponsoring this review. Thanks, man. Alright, let's get right into it. As per usual now with Daban made models, we get an absolutely plain looking box with a big number plastered on the front. There's a caution label on one side and that's it. This is contrasted, of course, by the amount of stuff inside the box. If I could get the box open. Ooh, that's not good. Oh boy. Ooh boy, that's not good. You have your runners, a big plastic piece for the base, almost folded stickers and water slides, and lastly your booklet manual. The runners feel nice. They don't have that cheap plastic feeling when you compare it with Daban's last attempts with the Zeta. Where the old one had glossier plastic, even though the previous ones had the same amount of detail, the satin finish plastic just feels better in my opinion. And as you may have noticed, the molding on the parts is sharp, extremely sharp. Be very careful when handling this because sharp edges can not only hurt you, but are also very thin and delicate. I would highly suggest that you take care while building this model, because if you don't, you'll see later in the video. Alright, let's get this bit up and see how it looks. Right off the bat, this is one striking looking model kit. The deep red color contrasted by an even darker gray just makes it so menacing. It does look like a devilish MS, no? And all the very sharp spikes don't help either. But in lore, all these spikes from what I understand was for the built-in system called the Psycho Neutralizer. But in model form, they're just here to make the model look very cool and actually kind of dangerous to hold. I almost got punctured and cut multiple times while building this model kit. Talking about building this up wasn't fun. Let me start with how some parts just wouldn't fit right. There were multiple times around my copy that the pegs were just too wide and needed to be trimmed for them to fit. And sometimes there are some pegs that were slightly off-center, which led to some building mishaps such as unclosing sandwich connections no matter how much force you put into squeezing them. Next are the things that make this Zeta design look cool. Those spikes. The very spiky nature of this MS was just a pain to work around. And I meant that quite literally. There isn't a part on this model that doesn't have a spike, from the top of the head down to the feet. So just be very careful when handling yours because as I've said earlier, not only that they're dangerous, but they're quite delicate as well. Build this model slowly and with a little bit more focus. That way you won't get hurt. Also, a little tip for you in building the legs. In the manual, the instructions say that this part B10 goes in before the parts on the sides on the subsequent steps. Put B10 last, or at least be careful on putting on the sides. The reason being that you could break these sharp detail parts just like what I did with mine. Because I was just going through the motions in building this model kit. This was fine on the original Daban Zeta because it had no detail of the sort that may break if done incorrectly. Remember, focus a little and be careful of those sharp parts. The last problem, or at least I feel like it's a problem, is that the whole model just doesn't feel as solid as I might want it. This problem has nothing to do with it being a bootleg, or at least I think so. It's really just that Wave Rider gimmick the Zeta 2.0 has. It has a hollow torso and an alarming amount of dangly and thin stuff going on the waist section of the inner frame. It just feels very rickety, and I don't like that. I really wish that they'd just cut the transformation gimmick altogether and make a more stable Zeta Gundam with a parts forming gimmick. I know that's kind of controversial, but it just doesn't feel nice to hold and fiddle with. Especially with how Bandai model kits, which this was based off from, are being treated as pseudo action figures by a lot of people. This just doesn't feel fun. It does look very striking and cool though. At least it has that going for it. Treat it like a model kit and you will be fine. Let's move on to the articulation and accessories. The head goes up that far, down that far, and rotates just that much. It has a green clear piece for the eyes, and it's supposed to be covered up by the eye stickers, but it's already colored green, so I decided to not use those. It's really unfortunate to cover those up. It could also go into the torso, but that's mostly for the transformation. This butterfly joint lets the shoulder swivel back that far, and there's a joint after that that could move forward that much. The shoulder rotates on a ball joint 360, but it doesn't seem like so, especially when it's blocked by this triangle-shaped wing binder. But it can. This part can go down, but it's just tough to pull out right now. I'll just edit a picture how it looks like when it's already pulled down. This little flap goes out of the way for the arm. The arm goes up that far. The peg that connects the shoulder to the bicep is too short, so it just feels a little bit loose here. But the arm could rotate at the bicep 360. It has a double jointed elbow. The hand is on a ball joint and has this wrist joint that lets the hand do this. And it could rotate and do everything that you would expect from a ball joint. The fingers are on a 1-3 split, and a separate thumb that could do that. Back to the torso. It doesn't have an ab crunch because it's hollow inside, but it could open up the cockpit in which the pilot should be inside there. But I decided to not put her in yet. And yes, I did say her because the pilot of this mobile suit is a woman named Yuri Agisa. The whole torso mechanism moves side to side like that, at the base. The side skirts are on a separate mechanism from the waist and is actually attached in between the waist and the top of the thigh. It moves out of the way for most poses and has beam sabers inside of them. The front skirt also moves out of the way for the legs, and the back skirt moves up as one piece. There are two spiky cosmetic bits that stick out of the mobile suit that could also rotate out of the way for the leg. The leg could move front that far, back that far, and out that far. The thighs could swivel 360 degrees. It has, like the Mark II, a beautiful knee bend. It could also do the chicken leg, but that's more for the transformation. The ankle guard moves upward for the foot articulation. The foot moves forward that far, back that far, and pivots very well. The toe can move up that far and down so much to the point that it's almost closing the foot. But that's more for the transformation. The wing binders move out that much and could do this much stuff while being attached to the body. And the tail stabilizer goes up and down that much and has ball joints on these segments. The accessories include this appropriately spiky beam pistol, the Zeta beam rifle, which has supposed to be a clear green piece right here. But I chose not to put it in because that would be a pain to put out. And it could fold up like that. The Hyper Mega Launcher, which the previous Daban Zeta releases also included. It could also fold up like that. Beam Saber blades, and of course, it could attach to the beam sabers and can be held in the hand. A uniquely spiky shield, which has this gaping hole for the transformation. It could attach to the back of the arm using this connection and can of course spin at that connection. A note about this shield. I don't really like this part of it because it's sort of out of place. And I think it must have something attached on it, and I checked, there's nothing to cover it up. So covering it up with plastic plate or sealing it with putty would look a lot better in my opinion. And lastly, the biggest accessory that this comes with is the base, which acts both as a display base and the flying stand for the Zeta. It's simple, but I think it works. It also has a special mechanism that acts like the catapult system for the MS in the Argama. It also could attach to the base that's included with the previously released Super Gundam, and of course, consequently, the MG Mark II 2.0 AEUG colors. It is of a darker color, so painting the base to the right color may be in your best interest. And yeah, that's about it. It's a lot. Overall, this kit is quite the experience. The build experience in perspective isn't the worst I've built, and the whole kit isn't as bad as I might have made it seem. It's just finicky in a lot of places because of the built-in transformation gimmick it has. And to be quite frank, that's the stem of almost everything I have a problem with this model. Other than the very atrocious fitting issues, it's quite alright. It's not just as stable as I'd like it to be. It looks nice. And in my opinion, that's a big reason to get this model kit. Here it is transformed, and sorry I did it off camera. I just didn't want to edit the whole tedious transformation sequence just to get skipped by a lot of people. But yes, you can transform it. And yeah, it does look nice. Kinda tempted to get another one or just the Grey Zeta for it to have a pair. That's about it. If you like the video, leave a like, comment if you want, subscribe if you haven't, and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you're so inclined. And yeah, thanks for watching.